Fasting also has an emotional dimension. Among the biggest or greatest drives that we have in an emotional level is anger. And we express our anger by speaking ill of people, by shouting, by a variety of different ways. Fasting helps us to gain control over it. Because the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, had said that one who doesn't control his tongue or her tongue, so that they are backbiting, telling lies, screaming, shouting, etc., then he said, God has no need for their fast. There's no reward in that fast. So if one is not able to control one's emotions during the fast, then in fact one has nullified the value of the fast. So the fast challenges us on a variety of different levels. And this emotional level is a very critical level, because isn't it where emotions go crazy, run awry, that we end up killing, hurting, screaming? A lot of the crime or the abuse or these kind of things that happen in society, it's coming from on an emotional level. People who lack control over their emotions. So fasting addresses this topic, this issue directly. If one is serious about fasting, then they must put a handle on this.
Point number 4 is excessive love of food and drink. Excessive love of food and drink, especially beyond what is needed, for your survival. And this is a serious problem, because excessive love of food and drink is something that opens up the desires. And we were talking about this yesterday in America, because in some parts of America, the people, they fry a lot of foods. And then the sugar. So if some people, if they get sugar and grease in their body, their personality changes. If there's too much sugar and grease in their body. This might sound strange to you, but if you drink a lot of Pepsi and Coca-Cola, some people who drink a lot of this get hyper when they start drinking. So food actually does something. This is the reason why, look at the Prophet ﷺ when he tells us that 3 days in the middle of the month, you should fast on the 3 white nights. Now, there is a definite connection between a full moon and the tides and mental disease. There's a definite connection between the tides when they come in and out, and the magnetism, because our body is mostly water, right? So there's a connection between the water and the magnetism, and some people can be thrown off and get agitated and nervous during this time. You find in many of the classical movies and books of literature in the Western world that the werewolf or the vampire comes out on the full moon. Like when you see the full moon, then the werewolf is calling and the vampire wants to drink blood and whatnot. What that is tied in with is that people who have schizophrenia and manic depression and many of the different diseases are affected by in some cases by the moon itself. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, says to do what? Fast. So you don't put the food inside your body, you don't agitate your body during these times where you can get upset. Also the fast in Ramadan. If you fast once a year, then it gives a different type of balance to the body.
But when the Amir has power, no one will stand up and say, after he has made a judgment, we need to vote on that. I'll give you a good instance. We have this problem of when we gonna start the fast and when we gonna end the fast. Do y'all have that problem here? You got the different madhabs, different groups. Somebody say they want to go up on a mountain and see it. Somebody will say we don't want to be in the valley. Some people say no, we're going to compute it. Some people say no, we're going to go to the nautical people and they're going to look out at the sea. Some other people say no, we don't already set it up. Some people say we already printed the calendar, that's that. I mean, everybody got all kind of different things. So you wind up with 5 different dates for the beginning of Ramadan. How could that be right? And then when Ramadan ends, the same thing. Half the people is eating on the Eid. Somebody said, I'm following the moon in Indonesia. Somebody said, no, I'm following the moon in Mecca. Somebody said, no, I'm following the moon I saw in the backyard. And some people say, I don't care about the moon, I'm just counting 30 days, that's it. Well, let's look at the other side. Let's look at the other side. MashaAllah, in Saudi Arabia, there's a mufti. MashaAllah, our neighbor, next to here in Malaysia, there is a mufti. In fact, there is 12 muftis in Malaysia. But there is a central mufti. When the mufti tells the president, when the mufti in Saudi Arabia tells the king, the moon has been sighted, the king makes a verdict. A fatwa has been given, a verdict is made by the king, the execution of it, the announcement is, fasting begins. Do you think that some people in some different cities or valleys or mountains of Saudi Arabia call up and say, oh, listen, king, listen, mufti, we ain't seen the moon yet, so we ain't fasting? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I have known it to be the case where the mufti said that the fasting began on a certain day, and that the moon had been seen based upon the dalil that they had captured. 10 days later, they did some investigation, and they found out that the person who gave them that information, there was some error. So then the mufti told the king had everybody to write everything and said, add another day because we started wrong. MashaAllah, consistent with what the Prophet ﷺ said. But there was unity in the starting of it, and there was unity at the end. We have to have that. But if there's no power, no unity. So they must choose and nominate. Otherwise appoint one of them the Amir, the coordinator, the chairman, imam, president, leader, call them what you like, according to the Islamic manhaj. This group then becomes the founding body. They become the founding body or the core group that guarantees the Islamic constitutionality. And what is the Islamic constitutionality? It is shura. That group guarantees, at least from a reasonable point of view, that there will be shura. There will be consultation. There will be leadership according to the manhaj of the Prophet ﷺ. It is called shara'i. It is called the shara'i method, meaning that it is shura according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Therefore, the projects of that group, the programs of that group, the activities of that group, and the ambitions of that group will be according to Quran and Sunnah, at least reasonably so. Why? Because they have come together for that purpose.